All right, so Andrew Callaghan from Channel 5 here on YouTube recently sat down and did an interview with Don Lemon and another CNN host to talk about his new HBO documentary called This Place Rules, which is coming out on December 30th, so just about a week from now. And this interview got kind of tense and awkward at some points, mostly because I think that these CNN hosts just didn't really understand how to talk to somebody like Andrew, who doesn't really fit into the typical ways that they analyze politics. You have networks like CNN and MSNBC, and they're sort of just like cheerleaders for the Democrats. You have networks like Fox News and other right-wing corporate media outlets that are just cheerleaders for Republicans and conservatives, and he doesn't really fit into that. I mean, he has a very unique style of his content where he basically just puts a microphone in front of people's faces, gets them to open up and talk about things and give their perspective on the world, and it just sort of creates this organic, exposing of a lot of wild people from all over the place, all over the political spectrum. And it's honestly really entertaining, so highly recommend you guys go and check out his channel if you haven't already. But anyways, let's just go ahead and jump into this clip here and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
In 2020, shit got super serious. Protests, pandemics.
Basically, it's slavery.
Remember that?
We think that they're trying to steal our election. All you have are personal attacks.
Info war, not physical war.
My name's Andrew Callaghan. This is the story of the events that led up to the January 6th Capitol riot. You ever feel like you've gone too far down the rabbit hole?
So joining us now is the director, producer, and stars in this documentary called This Place Rules, which debuts on HBO December 30th, Andrew Callaghan. Andrew, I mean, this is a lot. This is a deep dive into this documentary. Yeah. And there's so much to talk about here when it comes to who you spent time with, what you saw. But, when it comes to what's happening today, Enrico Tarrio, he was not at the Capitol on the 6th, but he still played a role in this, and he's facing some of the most serious charges that are stemming from that day. What did you see from him as you were shooting this?
Yeah, I just talked to him in the lead up to the January 6th Capitol riot. Just hung out with him a little bit in D.C. and Miami and elsewhere.
And what did you learn about him?
He sells T-shirts. He's the chairman of the Proud Boys. Yeah.
So no details about his involvement, his state of mind, or anything?
I mean, I don't think the movie's not just about the Capitol riot and all that. It's also about media echo chambers, you know what I mean? And the dangers of the 24-hour news cycle, and how I think mainstream media like Fox and even CNN competes for views by running constant 24-hour news cycles based upon fear, division, outrage, and panic, probably to sell ads. So it's not just about the Capitol riot.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. First of all, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I'm not exactly sure of how that played into people going into the Capitol and rioting on January 6th. There's nothing fake about CNN.
Oh, I'm not saying fake news. I'm just saying ramping people up and increasing division during that period of time. Just watching people kind of fall down the rabbit hole and be pushed into action and falling down the conspiracy rabbit hole.
I just what was the point that Don Lemon was responding to there? Because he just completely avoided the actual critique of what Andrew was saying, right? He's talking about the 24-hour news cycle and how it's, every day something new that a lot of different mainstream media outlets are focusing on and trying to, divide the American people along. And he also made a very good point there about the fact that all of these corporate media outlets, is a reason why we call them that. That's because they're profit driven. And so because they are profit driven, their profits largely come from advertisers. And so to some extent, they are beholden to the interests of those advertisers, right? I mean, this is why we typically have even the most left-wing mainstream networks like MSNBC or whatever. They're still neoliberals, right? They're still cheerleaders for the Democratic Party, which in my opinion, or at least relative to me and my politics and the politics of, I would say a vast majority of the American people, are still to the right on, issues of militarism, on issues of foreign policy, on issues of, economics to a large extent. There's a reason behind that. And it's because, again, they are beholden to to these advertisers. They are beholden to the profit margins. They are largely owned by either gigantic corporations that, combine into one another. We just saw this with CNN. They had the Time Warner merger, and then they were, had the other mergers as well that they've been doing with Warner Bros. And so it's like, all of this culminates in a system where we have effectively media outlets or what is supposed to be a free independent press that is actually just beholden to, number one, the interests of capital, and number two, the interests of a lot of their connections that they have within, agencies like the FBI, the CIA, the State Department, the government, etc. And so they basically are just like status quo reporters. They don't actually do like, super in-depth breakdowns in terms of all of the actual issues that most Americans care about, right? So that is 100% true. When you gin up, as he was just saying there, when you gin up hatred, when you gin up, divisive issues or rhetoric or something like that, then that is going to attract more eyeballs, and that is going to increase your profits. So that's the critique he was making, and Don Lemon's entire response to that was to turn around and say what? That like, oh, you're trying to imply that CNN was single-handedly responsible for January 6th or something like that, or that they're fake news or something. Like, no, that's not what it's about. It's just a critique of the overall corporate media landscape. It's not like a specific dig at you individually or saying that CNN was responsible for what happened on that day. So it's just kind of like a lazy response there from Don Lemon. And he says, like, immediately, I don't agree with you. And he's like trying to get all up on his high horse and be like, oh no, we're actually real serious journalists over here. I mean, it's just kind of like pathetic, honestly.
Yeah, I think more people would consider, what's happening online and what happened with the former president and the messaging that he was putting out there and QAnon and so forth.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree 100% with that as well.
Yeah. So listen, there are literally so many jaw-dropping moments in your documentary, including a weightlifting scene with conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Yeah, for sure. He can bench press a lot, actually.
Why would you put that in? Why'd you spend so much time with him, and why is he such a big part of this film?
Well, I mean, I just think that like whenever we were filming for the documentary, there was just certain moments that were super surreal that just kind of happened, and I felt like we had to kind of leave the footage in. So the Alex Jones weightlifting, whiskey drinking scene would also be one of those moments that I couldn't like leave out of the movie, for sure.
One thing that also stood out was what you heard from people when it comes to like conspiracy theories. I mean, there were parts where like children were shouting conspiracy theories. And I wondered, as you talked to these people, if you got the sense that they actually believed what they were saying or what your takeaway was.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, believe what they're saying. I just think that like, the echo chambers in the media, especially more fringe media that a lot of these people are consuming, is pretty all-encompassing, and especially the mythology of QAnon, like, consumed a lot of people's lives during this period of time, and it kind of, like, just became everything they wanted to fight for up until the Capitol riot. So that particular scene where I spoke with that family in Georgia, where it was, like, that the structure and whole basis of their family was, like, based upon Q and following that kind of lore, was definitely unsettling for sure. But, yeah, it's interesting to see where it is now, because, I guess hard QAnon stuff has kind of dissipated in terms of like, no one posts on the Q boards anymore, but it's kind of bled into like mainstream conservative thought.
Yeah.
I do think we should point out a lot of those conspiracies are not from legitimate media. That's from like social media and websites where those things are pushed in like dark corners of the internet.
Oh yeah, but it's like people spend their whole time in these dark corners of the internet, so it feels very real to them, especially because I think the biggest problem is probably media literacy. And like taking a lot of this information that's false as fact because of, you're seeing it on Facebook, you're seeing it on Newsmax, you're seeing it on One American News Network, places like that.
Yeah. Andrew Callaghan, thank you very much. Best of luck with this. This Place Rules debuts on HBO and streams on HBO.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, honestly, I just think that they weren't really equipped to have that conversation. I don't think that, this is honestly actually a great example in terms of why networks like CNN or MSNBC or even, Fox News to some extent, but especially a network like CNN, why they're starting to lose so much money and why they're completely unable to, get the attention of young people. And, you look at something like the CNN program, the live streaming thing they tried to set up, they spent billions and billions of dollars investing in this, and then they launch it and it's a complete fucking flop. And the reason for that is because young people or, younger generations, which is who they're trying to expand to a large extent, they just don't like this style of media, okay? They don't like this style of news consumption where, you just have two talking heads with suits on sitting in front of a desk and, spouting off whatever their sources within, their various connections to the government told them to say, essentially, or just parroting, a pro-corporate talking points all day long. People just aren't really interested in that. Number one, it's boring. Number two, obviously it's not like straight up necessarily misinformation, but, as Noam Chomsky has critiqued in Manufacturing Consent, it's just about the entire structure of capitalist media. It's the entire structure of the way that they have set themselves up to be, again, driven by profits, driven by advertisers, shifting the Overton window significantly to the right on issues specifically related to economics and foreign policy. And so they just don't really understand why there's so many big figures like Andrew Callaghan, who just has a completely different approach to news gathering or entertainment or, getting his message out there to people. Just has a completely different approach that's much more loose and organic and, natural, where he's actually just letting everybody speak, and he's, doing all of these very interesting interviews with interesting people, even though they might be like, outside of the, normalcy that we talk about within American politics, guys like Alex Jones or Enrico Tarrio or whoever it may be. Doing those types of things is not going to like drive further radicalization. If anything, I think if you watch somebody like Andrew's content over on Channel 5, it's stuff that it's like you get to see how absurd a lot of these fights, these battles that are going on right now in this country actually are. And it's like really useful stuff. And it's also super fucking entertaining at the same time, right? So I mean, like, this is something that these corporate media outlets just haven't been able to figure out, is the style of media that a lot of younger people are actually interested in. And you have this weird like standoff where I guess they bring him on thinking that this is going to be some classic like January 6th documentary where he's just solely focusing on, oh, Donald Trump bad, Republicans bad, Alex Jones bad, or whatever it may be, which, yeah, sure, those are all bad, but like this isn't the same type of media as they would be used to in this type of a situation or during this type of an interview. So I think that's why it was sort of a tense standoff there between Don Lemon and Andrew Callaghan. But credit to Andrew for standing his ground and directly critiquing the network that invited him on to talk about this. And honestly, I'm just hyped for this documentary to come out. Again, comes out on December 30th on HBO, so if you got an HBO Max subscription, then go ahead and watch it. I think it'll definitely be worth it, and if this is anything like his other content, it's definitely going to be entertaining.
Everyone is saying good Politic guy has the best Politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying